It depends on what the objective is for the campaign, for the ad group specifically, meaning like, are we doing a complete payment objective where we're driving purchases? Are we driving leads? Are we just trying to get people to come into the store? We're just doing kind of video views or traffic or some kind of higher funnel objective, because you want to get enough events to stabilize, optimize, and learn so you can get better, more consistent results. So if you're running, for example, a supplement, right, that this costs consumer, I think, is like $100 for Alpha Brain's Black Label, and I'm going to complete payments on it, I'm going to want a much higher budget because my cost to consumer is higher. I might average 60, 70, 80, $100 for purchase. So if I'm only spending $50 a day, I might only be getting a purchase every other day. And so you're going to get crazy volatile results. Again, it just comes down to the core objective of the campaign. And then also, if it's to drive online sales, looking at what is a kind of benchmark and average expected cost per purchase, right? If we're selling, $10 burgers versus, $40, $50 full meal, like crazy expensive meals, that's also going to dictate it. So I would say out of the gate, prospecting campaign is what your first launch. So you have one campaign, and this is kind of the first core conversion campaign you're really launching, right? So you have your conversion campaign, 2 to 3 ad groups under that, right? 2 to 3 different audiences, broad, layered interests, and then a purchase intention if it's applicable, or if it's not applicable, a combination of hashtags. For a few people in the group that are running, restaurants, running like local businesses, you probably can get away with really just running 2 and focusing mostly on creative testing, because your addressable audience is already pretty small. If you're selling a widget across the country, you really need to focus on different target pockets, different audiences. But when you're dealing with an audience that's only 100,000, 500,000 total people, well, you're probably going to reach everybody at some point anyway. So it really comes down to rapid creative testing and seeing what's going to resonate most effectively and get the highest click-through rates, the lowest cost, drive those people in the door, right? So in those situations, I'd kind of cut back on the number of audiences and increase the amount of creative. I'd probably do 2 ad groups, limit the third one, broad, combination of interests, 4 creatives under each one of those. So $50 for each one of those ad groups is what I would start with, just to get data going, just get some creative testing, get some initial KPIs and metrics in there, see which one of those audience performs better. And then also see out of those 4 creatives you're starting with, what's hitting the best. And that's going to give you a foundation to then move into creative testing. So if you find that, hey, broad's working better or my interests are working better, now I have a control that I can move into campaign 2, which is creative testing. And in creative testing, I'm basically just rapid firing every few days new creative in there. And this comes down to budget, it comes down to bandwidth, right? Because the answer is always going to be the more testing you do, the better. But it comes down to obviously restraints. And so it would be, hey, if I find that I run this first campaign and I have this 2 ad groups, $50 a day, I run those for about a week, 5 to 7 days. At the end of that period, whichever one's performing best, that then becomes the control. So let's say it's broad, 0 targeting essentially. I would then make that my control audience for creative testing. And then in creative testing, let's say you want to test 2 creatives every 3 to 4 days. That's your bandwidth in terms of just making new videos. I'm going to create 2 ad groups. Both are going to be the same, broad. And then each one's going to have a unique creative under it that I'm testing. And that's going to be $25 a day. I'm going to run that. I'm going to kill things that are not working. I'm going to keep things running that are working. And I'm going to keep testing new creatives. So when I kill 1 or 2, I'm going to replace it with 1 or 2. And so this is just a process where this is like the most important thing, is just rapidly creative testing, rapidly seeing what's working, what's not working. When you find things that are working, you're documenting, you're saying, okay, these hooks, these angles, this style, this format, green screen, duet, stitches, reaction videos, interview styles, I'm going to build on this. And I'm going to create new versions. I'm going to keep iterating and improving. That would be like for you for the next like week and a half would be my main focus. Again, if you do find things that are working, you're iterating on those. And when I say iterate, I mean, okay, this ad worked really well. I'm going to try some different hooks. I'm not reinventing the wheel. This core ad works. Like, I'm going to try some different hooks. Maybe this hook will resonate with a different pocket. It'll speak to more people. It'll stop more scrolls. But you also want to take big swings, right? Because where you get big wins is finding net new angles. It's like a totally new angle that then you can build on. And so ideally you're doing both of these, right? So you're finding new angles that are winners, because most are not going to be winners. So you're going to test a lot of net new things. Most are not going to work. But when you find things that hit, cool, I can now scale this and I can simultaneously be testing different versions of it. So when this thing dies and fatigues, which it will, I have 10 other versions that I can run. I have 20 other versions that I can run. And it didn't require a lot of additional effort because it was just shooting a different 3-second intro or adding a different hook overlay, a different text overlay, or it was even having, a creator, hiring a creator to literally do the exact same script word for word, but it's a different type of person. It's a young woman instead of an older guy. This is the general path, but it's some people, if you have a bigger budget and you have more ability in-house to shoot videos, you can move faster on both of these things. If you have a limited budget and you're struggling to shoot stuff and edit stuff, then the easier path is just iteration and focusing on that for a little bit. And maybe it's every other week you're trying a new angle, but it's every week you're at least testing different versions of that thing that's working.